Welcome to the Seahawkers podcast with your hosts, Adam Emmert.
They're not even using a thorium reactor.
And Brandan Schulze.
Do Canadians throw the football differently than Americans?
Go Hawks!
This is the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandan Schulze of the Military Seahawkers. And joining me for the first time in a couple months right here on this show, Montana Seahawker, my good buddy Adam Emmert.
You make it sound like we haven't talked in like months.
I know. Well, we haven't talked right here on this show.
Well, I mean, I was right here. It's just that it went on the field goal stream instead of on our Seahawkers podcast stream, which I think we're going to stick here from now on.
Yeah.
Me and you.
It was worth a try.
Yeah.
We're still in the same locations. We were trying different virtual locations.
Mm-hmm.
And we're back here now.
I like this better.
It feels the same to me, but I also like it better.
Yeah, me too. I like our team better too after this draft.
Holy smokes, what a draft it was too. The Seahawks go from being tied with a franchise low number of picks in the draft. Only in 1994 and 1997 did they have 5 picks. But you know, John Schneider, he wasn't gonna stand for only 5 picks. He goes and he trades those 5 picks, comes away with 11 picks overall. And we got some dudes to talk about on the show, Adam.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun show. And John Schneider is basically a draft capital alchemist because he started out technically with 4. I mean, if you count before they traded Frank.
Right.
And ended up with 11. Is that what it was? Was that the final total?
They drafted 11 players and they got one dude in, at least a guy in every single round.
That's pretty impressive.
I'd say so.
You got to give him some credit on that. I mean, I know a lot of people are still upset about the Frank Clark trade and all that, but I mean, what they managed to turn it into as far as just sheer number of picks. Now, we'll go through each pick and we can all talk about who we're excited about or not, or if this whole draft is going to be good or bad for the Seahawks. But just the idea that they were able to parlay Frank Clark into as much as they did in this draft is pretty freaking impressive.
It was needed, because they didn't have a whole lot coming into the draft, and now they have some cap space. Now they still have a hole to fill that Frank Clark leaves behind. Mm-hmm. But there's dudes out there in free agency, and they brought in Ziggy Ansah.
Ziggy!
Yeah.
I want him just because I enjoy the name Ziggy.
Yeah.
I don't care if he has no shoulders.
He probably gets an extra $1 just for a name value.
You think?
When he signs his contract, yeah. If his name was Brett, he'd get $1 million less.
Man, that's tough on all Bretts out there. Brett's a fine name. How about
It's
Mike?
a fine name.
Yeah.
I mean, Brett is like an average name. It's not like a downgradable name.
No, Brett's not an average name. I would say you're thinking more like Brandon. Like that's an average name.
I don't know, Mr. Average Adam.
Not only average, but it was like literally the first name that was supposedly thrown onto a person.
See, that downgrades you right there.
It sure does. I've never liked
an Adam anywhere, but can we find a Ziggy? No, those are hard to find.
It's hard to find Ziggies. We had a building center in Kalispell, Montana, named Ziggy's that I always liked. That's why I want Ziggy Ansah on our team.
I do too. But you know what? We have 11 other dudes to talk about who are actually on our team. Like right. LJ Collier picked with the 29th pick overall in the draft, Adam. And you know how much I love the John Schneider and Pete Carroll phone calls to the players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's listen to Schneider's call.
Hello?
LJ.
Who am I talking to?
This is John Schneider. I'm general manager of the Seattle Seahawks.
What's up?
How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
We're getting ready to select you here, okay, partner?
What's up? One more time?
Come on in. We want you to come in and get after that quarterback, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right. Congratulations, man. Here's Coach Carroll, okay?
Let's go.
All right, bud.
Let's get it. Let's go. Let's go.
Hey, LJ, you there?
I just want to make a time note that Pete Carroll got on the phone at about 30 seconds into the call here. They're still cheering. You have to see the video because Pete Carroll is like waiting on the phone. It's like, okay, they're still cheering. He tries to jump in.
Let's go, man.
Are we sure they're cheering and like not a mass murder going on back there?
Hey, LJ, you there?
I'm there.
Okay.
Oh, everybody's going crazy.
I hear you. You have fun. You should be having a blast. Seahawks are firing up. Not getting you, bro.
It's about 40 seconds of cheering, and before Pete Carroll gets a word in.
It was hard on the ears. There's a lot of screeching.
There was a lot, yeah. He has a lot of screechy relatives, apparently, at his draft party.
Yeah, but that's fine. I'm glad he was fired up. And I think John Schneider needs to work on his introduction when he makes a phone call to somebody that he's only maybe talked to a couple times.
Right.
You know, that maybe doesn't recognize his number. Like, I don't call like some random person that I've maybe only talked to once and just be like, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah? Who is this? No. Hey, Bob, this is Adam Emmert. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. General manager for the Seattle Seahawks, brother.
Right.
Like, put that all in up front.
Yeah. John Schneider, too, also gets in touch with his inner, like, WWE wrestler guy. You know, hey, want to come play for the Seahawks, brother?
It's my favorite time of year with draft calls where I get to hear John Schneider talk like a wrestler.
Right. Okay. But what about the pick, Brandon? I did sort of kind of listen to your and Rob's recap on the field goal show. I was nodding in and out like as I was going to bed, but I'm curious.
I think it's important that they traded back. They got a lot of picks out of it, found a lot of value out of that one pick. And I think they took a guy who was probably their guy that they were going after. What do they do every year for their, first couple picks? They get laser focused on a guy. And here was a guy that they brought in. They met with at the combine. They went to his pro day at TCU. They brought him into the VMAC. This was their guy. I like the pick. I like them going defensive line when in a strong defensive line class.
It was their guy. And that's one thing that was driving me a little bit crazy about all the coverage of the draft with this pick was just the phrase I heard over and over again. Well, they didn't get good value here. They didn't get good value here. He could have been available in this round or that round or at this pick or maybe that pick. Well, number one, you don't know that. All these defensive players were coming off the board lickety freaking split. And I'm sorry that didn't match your little mock draft, but it didn't. So, like, things changed, it turns out. Number two, they look at this guy, and I've heard people talk about where he might have gone, like, before the draft, all the way from the fourth round to the end of the first. So, it's not like there's some magic consensus that everybody is like, oh, no, he's just a third-round pick, and that's where he has to go.
Yeah.
And so, if you pick him other than that, now you don't have value. It's freaking stupid.
Value. It's very important in the draft that you get value.
Well, and I mean, the whole point is it's a value. You get value if you pick a good football player in that pick. I don't care if it's a first round pick or seventh round pick. They got good value by picking Chris Carson in the seventh a couple years back. Why? Because he happened to be a good football player. Not because of where he should or shouldn't have gone or any of that stupid nonsense, right? So, number one, that was pissing me off. But the other thing that I found interesting is that one thing that you and Rob talked about was there's a consistent theme that goes through this draft class, and you guys hit on a couple things, and I'd want to add one more to that, and that's the Seahawks were drafting people. They weren't drafting prospects. And what I mean by that is you hear Mel Kiper talk about these guys. You hear McShay talk about these guys, and they're like commodities.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're not, it's just, this guy has, good bend and wiggle and blah, 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 right? And all this stuff. But they never talk about them, the person. And what the Seahawks seem to do throughout this whole draft, and LJ Collier is a great example of this, is pick really great people who play football. And they're looking for those guys that, love football, have a chip on their shoulder, quote unquote, which I'm already sick and tired of that phrase after listening to the draft again. But have something to prove and really have worked hard to get where they're going. And the thing we talk about each and every year, the grit thing, having to overcome something with the death of his mother and all that. So I like this pick a lot. He's a bigger, in terms of weight, defensive end. He reminds me of somebody who's somewhere between Julius Peppers and DeMarcus Ware and kind of style of play.
Yeah.
Is he going to be that good? I don't know. I wouldn't think so. Maybe that would be great if he was. but I really like it. After watching his stuff, I think he could be a force.
We need more draft analysts like that. Who are like, will he be good? I don't know. Maybe. The Seahawks seem to think so.
Yeah.
I do like what I see, though. Like the Brian Baldinger breakdown of LJ Collier, showing how he uses his hands, the way he's able to get outside. And I prefer to see things like those rather than having the Seahawks rely on combine numbers.
Right. So the tape looks a little better. Tape, quote unquote, looks a little better than measurables is what you're getting at. Yeah. Well, the one thing I was excited about after watching Baldy's breakdown is that this guy has great bend, long levers, good twitch, and heavy hands. He's got all those things. Did I get all the stupid combine draft terms?
And I think the funny thing is I think he has all those things.
Well, supposedly, right? I mean, his hands are so heavy that he's got like reinforced armrests in his car because they break off. Otherwise, I don't know what the hell does that mean. Heavy hands. Like the one term from this draft that every year there's one, right? Like long levers was the one a couple drafts ago.
Yeah.
This year it's twitch.
Oh, you got to have twitch. Yeah, twitch is important. Although I did see from Lance Zierlein's breakdown that he didn't think that Collier was a natural knee bender.
Not a natural knee bender, huh?
No. He has to work at it.
I would hate to... what, does he have artificial knees?
I don't know.
Because if he has natural knees and they bend, he's a natural knee bender.
I feel like knees are naturally supposed to bend. That's what they're there for.
Right.
So to not have it be natural... It could be a problem then.
Sure. It sounds like it. I do like the idea that he's a little shorter than the prototypical guy that plays on the defensive end. Like the low man always wins in the trenches. That's why that's part of why Aaron Donald is such a force inside, is being the shorter guy, but he still has the long arms. So he can still reach out, keep the big tackle's arms off of him. And the other thing I like is that he actually has a lot of power. Like you saw a lot of bull rushes and things of that nature. And then he'd mix in some counter moves too. Very polished player. He looks like he can be a dominant force on the outside rather than just a straight up speed edge rusher. And I think that is going to be something that pays dividends because he can play the run as well. The Seahawks definitely wanted to get more physical in this draft. Every one of these dudes is super physical, and LJ Collier is definitely one of them.
Maybe the most physical, the next selection with Marquis Blair, safety. And this is a position that the Seahawks have not gone early on in the draft. Earl Thomas, the last safety taken in the first 2 rounds of the draft. So you have to think, if Pete Carroll likes this guy well enough to take him in either round 1 or round 2, he's going to be something special. And just looking at the way Marquis Blair lays the wood to dudes, it's pretty strong. And he also had a very Earl Thomas-esque type phone call from John Schneider.
Hello?
Hey, is this Marquis?
Yes, sir.
Hey, it's John Schneider, general manager of the Seahawks. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
What's going on?
Catfish! I'm just at the house.
Yeah, you ready to come in here and kick some
catfish? Yes, sir.
All right, we're going to select you right here, partner, okay?
Yes, sir.
Congratulations, man. Here's Coach Carroll, all right?
Appreciate it.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Marquise.
Yes, sir.
Hey, buddy. Congratulations. Seahawks grabbing you right here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Your staff is fired up, and they're fired up because we know how tough you are. We're expecting you to show it everything you do in every aspect of our play, special teams, pounding guys in the running game, pounding guys in the pass game. That's what we're counting on, okay?
Yes, sir.
I think that's what you're good at.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, hang on a second. I got a couple guys who want to talk to you. Congratulations. Marquise.
Hey.
So not a man of many words, and almost sounded pissed that he didn't get picked earlier.
Yeah, it could have been like somebody was calling him to let him know his dry cleaning was done. Hey, Marquise, dry cleaning's done. Thanks.
All right, appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
And I'm not going to play all the calls, but I did want to contrast that one. Here's a guy who was one of the Seahawks' top 3 picks, and we'll get to the next one, which is my favorite. But just it shows you some of the type of the personality of the guy that he really wasn't. He was very low key about all of this.
Right. He very much was. His tape, and I keep saying that in quotes because when you and I watch tape, like every other one of these dudes out here that like has broke down the draft, they're not like going into the film room and like putting up the projector. Like we're all, getting out the tablet and Chromecasting a YouTube video to your living room TV. All right. So we'll just put it that way. I'm
going to edit the tape of this show after we're done with it with all of the things that have been cutting out as we've been recording.
Yes, that'll be great. So after watching his film tape, whatever you want to call it, he does hit hard. He's very slight. I don't quite get this one.
Really?
Yeah. I think out of all of them, like out of all the draft picks, this is the one that I feel the least excited about. And I hope to be dead ass wrong, but I don't see the size to sit and play strong safety. I don't see the speed to play free safety. He looks like a corner to me.
He has the speed to play. He has 4.4 speed.
I get that that's what his combine number was.
Right, okay. But he's also at Utah. He wasn't just a strong safety. He wasn't just a free safety. He played both. And just the way that the Seahawks have played, I don't see why he and Bradley McDougall can't just tag team and play a little bit of strong, play a little bit of free. It's kind of what the Seahawks have been doing now that Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor have left.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. So how many years did Cam play?
8, 7?
Yeah, 7, 8, something like that, right? This is Cam, but 40 pounds lighter. How long do you think he's going to last?
If you're looking to draft Cam Chancellor again... No,
I'm not looking to draft Cam Chancellor, but... I'm looking at a guy who tries to play like Cam Chancellor, 40 pounds lighter.
Isn't Earl Thomas 40 pounds lighter than Cam Chancellor?
Yeah, he didn't play like Cam Chancellor. Earl didn't hit like Cam.
No, but he still hit pretty hard.
He hit pretty hard. But Cam was the thumper, right? And that's what everybody's saying about Blair here. They're drafting him to be the next enforcer, the next Easley, the next Cam. Like,
I think they just wanted a guy with that physical kind of toughness.
I get that. Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to compare a dude to two legendary players, but he feels like he fits into that mindset, at least.
He does. He has that attitude, and he hits like that. It's just he's light.
Well, a guy like Bob Sanders, he's one of those hard-hitting safeties that we compare guys to a lot. And it's probably getting to be a pretty dated reference because maybe there aren't as many NFL fans that know who Bob Sanders was for the Colts.
He was awesome.
He was
and then
awesome.
All of a sudden, his body exploded.
And he was like 5'8", 5'9". He was not a big dude, but he blew guys up.
Yeah.
And he didn't last that long.
No. But it was awesome. I don't know. That's just my concern with Blair. We'll see. Again, I don't know if he's going to be good or not good. That's just a concern when I watch the stuff.
Well, he was ejected 3 times in the last 2 years of school for targeting. Although I saw one of the videos where it looked like he just hit the guy hard and they ejected him.
Yeah, that doesn't concern me at all.
Yeah, they don't have a targeting rule in the NFL. Well, they kind of.
Yeah. I mean, you can't go headhunting, but I do believe
he didn't strike me as a guy who was a headhunter, though.
No. I didn't get that sense either, and I think that part was overblown. And on top of all that, if there's going to be anybody that can teach him how to hit like the correct way, it's the Seattle Seahawks and Pete Carroll. Like they invented the hawk tackling thing, and they stole it from rugby, and it works.
And they branded it hawk tackling,
right, which was savvy.
It's all about the branding.
It is.
The Seahawks, they move up after trading back out of their first 2 picks, moving down, getting more picks in the 4th round with that move down from 21 down to 29. They move back into the 2nd round and take Marquis Blair. And then they use some of those.
How did you feel about that, though? You haven't said much about Blair here.
It's interesting that you say that he's one of your most concerning ones. Blair might be my favorite pick out of all these guys. And I think it goes back to that idea of, I think a lot of it is trust based on Pete Carroll's history and just knowing how much he is able to recognize talent at defensive back. And if he's picking a guy this early, it must mean that he really, really likes a particular player. Blair also went in that same spot that another Utah State player, Bobby Wagner, picked in the second round in that exact same spot.
Right.
And so I'm just wondering, based on the fact that Pete Carroll's taken one defensive back in the first 2 rounds prior to Blair, and that was Earl Thomas. He gets selected in the Bobby Wagner position. I think we need to start referring to him as future Hall of Famer Marquis Blair.
I would love to. But you suck and you're wrong completely. You don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, we need to argue more about these guys when we actually have no information about how good they're going to be at the NFL level.
And speaking more absolutes.
You know who's going to suck?
Well, give me a second. I'm taking my shirt off for the announcement of this next one because I'm pissed.
Hello.
DK.
Yes, sir.
Hey, it's John Schneider with the Seattle Seahawks.
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing, bud?
Good.
You doing all right?
Yes, sir.
Hey,
Yes,
man,
sir.
get fired up. We're going to make you a Seahawk right here, okay? You all right, bud? All right, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You got to help me out in the weight room, though. I'm a little slow in that area, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Look forward to this, brother, okay? Here's Coach Carroll.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
DK. Hey, DK, this is Coach Pete Carroll.
How you doing?
I'm doing really good. Okay, we'll both cry together then, all right?
Why y'all wait this long, man?
I know you had to wait a little bit, but that doesn't matter because you come to Seattle, man. You're gonna play with the Seahawks, and you're gonna catch footballs from Russell Wilson. So get your ass ready to go, big fella. We are fired up for it, and the staff is excited. Listen to these guys. Here's your staff. How about that?
Thank you.
TK, this is awesome, man. We're so excited about this. I can't even tell you.
If there were a draft for guys who look good with their shirt off, DK Metcalf would have gone number 1.
True. So that's my one worry with this pick is that there's always that one guy in every draft that is that crazy physical specimen that everybody just looks at and just goes, wow. And oftentimes they can't play football. So that's the concern, right? But you watch him run around out there and play, and you get the idea that there's the potential there of like Calvin Johnson, T.O., those kind of players. That's there for him. And he had a long wait to get drafted. I mean, everybody had this guy pegged to go in the first round for the most part.
He was going to be the first receiver taken off the board. And
I heard him talked about as high as 3.
Yeah.
Pick number 3.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And here he is getting drafted at the end of the second. And you can hear the relief in his voice, obviously.
Yeah. And that was cool. And I think, I had a certain picture in my mind about the guy after seeing the weight room photos. And I just had him pegged as a guy as someone who maybe all he cared about was the weight room.
Right.
And maybe not so much about football, but I think you could see from that telephone call that there weren't any guys who reacted like that apart from Metcalf.
Right.
That we saw.
Well, I'm sure he's starting to sweat bullets when he doesn't go in the first and he's watching the money, evaporate. And basically, he leaves school early thinking it's the right move. And now all of a sudden, like, am I even going to get drafted?
I'm sure when you are projected to go that high and then you're getting to the end of the second round, I'm sure those questions do cross your mind. I think it's probably something that could add, you mentioned you were tired of hearing chip on the shoulder, but something that can add a chip to the shoulder, dropping all the way down to the end of the second round when you had all these teams telling you how great you were and all these draft, projections telling you how great you were.
Right.
Now you have to go prove it.
I'm excited about this pick just because it will be interesting. One way or the other, it's going to be really interesting.
They got value here, Adam. They got value. Whereas with the Collier, for Collier and Blair, no value. They got value. They made up for it here.
All the value. And the odds are, I'm not saying this is going to be the case. Odds are Collier will probably be a better player than Metcalf. Odds are.
Yeah.
But that was no value with Collier and all the value with Metcalf. Maybe they both can be good football players and you just picked them when you could. How about that?
Yeah. Well, that was the thing that I talked about with Rob. If any draft analyst looked at the Seahawks draft and which picks that they had, and even you say, oh, well, they trade down and they end up with a guy late in the first, they end up with a guy at the near the top of the second and a guy at the end of the second. And you told them that they got Blair, Collier, and Metcalf. You go, okay, those are three good dudes in the first 2 rounds.
Right.
All projected to go in the first 2 rounds ish.
Exactly. Like, what's the problem here?
There's no problem.
Who cares what order they go into, right?
This was just the order that it worked out in for the actual draft and not a mock draft.
Well, and this is the thing that I'm hearing about the Giants, right? With them drafting Daniel Jones.
Oh my gosh,
like,
yeah.
Some people are pissed not because they drafted Daniel Jones. They're pissed because they drafted him at number 6 instead of 17. And it's like, who gives a shitfish which pick they used to pick him that early in the draft? Like, if they picked him before the 6th round, it's a dumbass pick. His ceiling is Frank Reich. Okay.
I do want to get your takes on all the quarterbacks because we did miss that before the draft, but let's do that in the second half.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying, like,
there's a preview.
The people are pissed because they didn't do the right value play there. Instead of being pissed that they picked a shitty quarterback.
Yeah.
Value is stupid. You're not going to Value Mart or Costco or wherever to pick your players, okay? It doesn't freaking matter. Well, they didn't buy bulk when they picked up DK Metcalf. It's not value.
Metcalf is one of the guys who I am most concerned about just from a football sense, but the way that the Seahawks play and the type of speed that he has, a lot of people saying, oh, well, he can only run one route, the go route. Well, I think for what the Seahawks do, and when they look for those big plays, that's going to be a benefit to them. If you have a guy who can tilt the field that defenses know that you have to account for, that if you aren't paying attention to him, you're going to get burnt and Russell Wilson's just going to throw it deep for a touchdown, that can be a difference maker. And he's not a guy who I'd expect to go out and have Doug Baldwin production, 7, 8, 9 catches a game. But if he goes out and he catches 3 game-changing plays in a game where Russell's throwing it deep down the field 30, 40 yards, that can make a difference.
I watched a video breakdown done by a guy named Brett Coleman, and he was talking about DK, and he's like, I don't understand why everybody's so pissed off about this 3-cone drill thing. It's like, basically, not everybody can be Julian Edelman, right? Like, or Wes Welker. Not everybody is that skill set, or Cole Beasley, right? Like, there's guys that do different things. He goes, Calvin Johnson didn't have a lot of wiggle, but he ran 4 routes really well. The go, the post, the dig, and a curl. And he's like, DK Metcalf already runs the post, and he runs the curl. Or slants. That was one of the it was, slants in the curl. He's like, there's no, and he ran a slant like a few times. They just didn't throw it to him. And he got open. He's like, he can do all those things. He's like, he could eat up the league just running those 4 routes, just like Calvin Johnson did.
Yeah, if you are if you're better than everyone else at certain things, it's just that I think with the news that came out on day 2 that Doug Baldwin was, potentially that retirement is even more of a possibility than maybe we've even considered in the past.
How you're saying this all wrong? He is already retired and he's gone forever. That's what the national media will tell you.
I forgot. It does feel that way though. And it felt that way on the second day of the draft. So a lot of people,
it doesn't feel that way. I don't know if Doug's retiring or not.
We won't know until he tells us.
Turns out.
But a lot of people down on the Seahawks for not drafting a Doug Baldwin replacement. Right. Was Doug Baldwin in the 2019 draft?
No,
I don't think so.
No, he's retired and gone forever. So he couldn't have been.
If Doug Baldwin were in the 2019 draft, I bet he goes first off the board.
Right. Yeah, because everybody knows what they're getting.
Except for the fact that the Seahawks got him as an undrafted dude. So I don't even know how you draft a replacement for a player that you didn't draft.
That's a great point. I mean, guys do different things. You can get different types of receivers that maybe put up the same sort of production in a different way. Like, it's okay. It's fine to look at guys and be like, hey, these are the things they do well. And I think they can get better at a couple little things. And no, he's never going to run wheel routes and stuff like Doug Baldwin. He won't. That's not who he is. And that's A-okay. Like, and out of all the places that DK could have gone, honestly, I think this is an amazing fit with Russ. I mean, just like you were saying, who throws a sexier deep ball?
Nobody. I can just see Russ tossing it up. I mean, he did it to David Moore like 15 times last year. Now do that to DK Metcalf. Yeah, well, DK Metcalf's running underneath it, and because he has the speed that David Moore doesn't.
And he can just reach up and pluck it out of the air over the top of all these guys. Because he's a monster.
He is a monster.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see how he develops and what he's going to be. Do I think he's going to be a huge contributor this year? No,
that's what I'm saying. If he goes out and he averages three catches per game and they end up being big plays.
Has like 5 touchdowns.
For a first-year receiver?
Yeah.
That's good production for the first year.
Yeah, as he's figuring it out.
Yeah, let's not expect him to be Calvin Johnson, Randy Moss, AJ Green, all in the first
Randy
year.
Moss. He'll never be Randy Moss.
If he were all those guys, he would have been picked in the top 10.
Right. Yeah, I don't even think he'll be Calvin Johnson. He doesn't use that vertical like Randy or Calvin. He's more like T.O.
Yeah, and even if he were actually T.O., he would have gone higher, I think.
Yes.
So
yeah. But he's got a better attitude, so that's nice.
I do like that. I just had him pegged as having a bad attitude, but I think I was wrong there.
Just because he looked too good with his shirt off?
Yeah.
Or if you have less than 5% body fat, you must have a crap attitude?
Right.
Yeah.
I also like that he's related
You're
to...
You're a leanest. That's what you are. You're a leanest. You don't like people who are too lean.
I don't. I'll admit it. I am a leanest.
Okay. Eat a hamburger, DK.
Yeah, I can't... And then I'll trust you. Right. Until we sit down for hamburgers, I don't trust you.
That's funny.
I do like that he's related to Eric Metcalf and Terry Metcalf.
All the Metcalfs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably all the Metcalfs. That's not a very common name.
No. I figured he had to have been related to because the only Metcalf that I really recognized was Eric Metcalf.
Yeah, for the Browns.
Yeah, Browns, and I think he played for the Falcons for a while or whatever. But
oh yeah, he did play for the Falcons.
See, I know things. Sometimes.
Yeah, Terry Metcalf was kind of before our time even.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how they're all related, but they're all Seattle dudes.
Right.
I didn't even know Eric Metcalf was born in Seattle.
Oh, I didn't either.
So is Terry.
Well, look at that. It was meant to be.
Why did the Seahawks wait so long?
Yeah. Well, that's because they were trying to make sure they got value.
Yeah. Well, they could have got even more value in the third round.
Sure, but they had other plans in the third round.
That's true.
Like going back to the great state of Utah.
Get Cody Barton, linebacker, with the 88th pick overall. Linebackers out of Utah. That's worked out well. Yeah,
that's it. Players out of the great state of Utah have been good to us.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, even Turbin was a contributor for a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
The Cody Barton pick, I look at this, I watch his tape, and, I think he's going to be a good depth guy.
And generally, when you're getting to the third round, that's what you're talking about, are depth guys.
Right. I think he can be a contributor that way. He reminds me a lot of Brock Coyle.
Is it because he's white?
Yes. No. No, that's it. It looks like he kind of does everything pretty good.
Sure.
And he'll probably be a good special teamer.
Well, they need some linebacker depth, and they got it with Barton. They got it later in the draft with Ben Burke-Irvin. BBK.
Is that what everybody calls him, BBK?
Yeah.
Okay.
Schneider, I think, even referred to him as BBK on his phone call with him.
Oh, okay. You're jumping the shark here.
I know. I just figured we could start grouping some of these players together because now we're getting to
because they're white?
Yes.
All right. Hopefully they have enough fat on them that you trust them.
I didn't check the body fat percentages on the linebackers.
Oh, okay.
Gary Jennings Jr. Oh, are we done talking about Barton? I don't know anything about him.
Well, I mean, he looks like he's a smart, instinctual player, and he can play all the positions. And I'm glad he's there in case something happens. That's the way I look at Cody Barton.
I think both with Barton and Ben Burkervin, it was just important for the Seahawks that they get some linebacker depth in a draft where there really weren't that many linebackers apart from the two Devons that went, both of them went in the top 10, Devin White, Devin Bush. And then there was a huge drop off as far as guys that you could look at and say that guy's going to be a stud linebacker. So the fact that they go out, they get Barton, they get Burkervin, and after a year where KJ Wright was down so much, Kendricks was suspended. Really, Bobby Wagner was your only, and Mingo did play the full season, but I felt like they saw that and go, oh, like the running back issue a couple years ago, we probably should address this linebacker issue, and we have been talking about it for a while.
Right, and I think it is just a really nice plan for them, the idea that they are able to get the depth at linebacker, but also I heard them talk a lot about special teams when they're talking about a lot of these dudes towards the back end of the draft.
Sure.
And I think they were really drafting with special teams in mind this year, wanting to get better there, maximizing the value you have with Michael Dixon, right? You got guys that can go down there and cover those punts. And so like those big booming kicks don't get returned at all. Like that it's a force multiplier with Michael Dixon that way.
That's what we need to start bringing force multiplier in for the next draft.
Yeah.
Labeling guys as force multipliers. That would be
like
good.
It. Yeah.
2020 draft term.
I love this guy. He's a twitchy force multiplier.
We got to drop twitchy. Just go straight force multiplier.
Well, they all start somewhere. Like I blame Dilfer for Twitch.
Yeah.
Because like dude, in the last 2 years, I heard him start talking about that when he was evaluating like receivers and quarterbacks. He's like, I like to use the term Twitch. And I was like, okay, you can't just use quick, but that's fine. But he's like, that short area quickness. I guess it's shorter than short area quickness.
It
Twitch.
is. I do like it better than short area quickness.
Yeah.
You could abbreviate that to like sack. That dude's got sack.
Yeah. Sock. Yeah. How do you do a Q at the end like
sack,
that? Without
I'm telling you, it's sack. And then it kind of sounds like, he has cojones too.
That guy's got a lot of sack.
Which, if you had
Good
too much
sack.
sack, it would probably cut down on your sack.
Right. Yeah. How big of a sack or how much sack do you think Gary Jennings has?
Well, it's funny that you brought up the 3-cone drill with Metcalf because Jennings, another guy who did not score well in the 3-cone drill. Huh. So I don't know what that means for his sack. I think that maybe he doesn't have much.
I don't know. He did play in the slot a lot. Actually, out of all the guys that we drafted, I ended up watching the most of Jennings.
Oh,
just because I still don't. I don't know what to think of this guy. Like I think he's a Morrow Darboh plus.
Okay.
Like I was way down on the Darboh pick when it happened because when I watched the tape, I was just like, this guy doesn't do anything. Like what? I'm sure his measurables are fine, but he doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Never gets separation. Jennings does get separation now and then, but he's not. He's going to have to work on his craftiness.
He's fast.
But this is the guy that could come in and play a lot of slot. He played a lot of slot for West Virginia.
He did play a lot, but it was interesting listening to the press conferences with the Seahawks in that they really didn't see him as being a slot guy. They saw him more of an outside guy. Which
makes sense because he isn't super shifty. He doesn't have a lot of twitch. And but he is fast. I mean, he ran a 4.4 something.
Yeah, he was 4.4.
Like 4.44.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4.44.
The 4.44.
And I like his attitude. I watched a bit of an interview with him on Good Morning Football. Nice smile.
He puts a feather in his helmet before every game.
Right. And I think being a Seahawk helps with that, right?
Oh, and he was the dude that Russell Wilson coached his YMCA basketball team.
Sure. I'm sure Russell was really invested drawing up plays for Gary Jennings, the YMCA
the
basketball
8-year-old
player.
Gary Jennings.
Mm-hmm.
They've never done that well with 4th round wide receivers, so I don't have a lot of hope.
No, I think he's more adept to play now than Metcalf is.
He could be one of those guys who gets a lot of special teams. He's a force multiplier on special teams.
Indeed. He could be. He's ready to do it.
Phil Haynes.
Perfect name for a lineman, right?
Here's a guy that I can trust. He does in terms of body fat percentage, this might be my favorite guy in the entire draft.
You're right. The most trustworthy by far that way. This is the guy that I looked into the least. I know the Wake Forest offensive line was an abject dumpster fire, and he was maybe the one shining bright spot on that. So he'll fit right in.
One of the things we talked about with Rob Staten, and we've talked about it in the past, Adam, the idea that they look for guys that are explosive linemen. Mm-hmm. And Rob came up with his trench explosion formula that tried to pick out who the most explosive linemen are. This dude fits right in with that group.
Does it? He's sparky?
Well, he is sparky in terms of spark score, but he's also... as far as that, and Rob refers to it as the trench explosion formula.
Right.
He's high, or TEF, and he's high on the TEF scale.
Right.
He may have. I think he may have even been the highest out of all the offensive linemen in the draft class.
Lots of TEF.
Lots of TEF,
but probably not a lot of sack. I mean, who knows?
I'm hoping he prevents some sacks.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. So do you see this guy as somebody's coming in year one and beating out Ayupati or Fluke?
It sounds like he's going to start on the left side based off of what Schneider said in the press conference, but they do see him as a player who should be able to learn both spots. Mm-hmm. But I do like it sounds like Ethan Posick has to worry about his job now. Oh, yeah.
I think he's on the bubble this year for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the last of the Tom Cable draftees on the offensive line, right?
Right.
I mean, so that's why
the guy Phil Haynes couldn't be too much more different than I think if they keep him around, I think if they keep Posick around, he's probably going to move inside and compete with Joey Hunt as the backup center rather than because the way they're going with guards. I mean, Phil Haynes, he's very trustworthy. He's a large dude.
He's a large man.
And that's what they've been moving toward for those interior guard spots.
Yeah, I mean, you see him doing it on both the defensive and offensive line, right? Getting bigger, more physical, push people around. Because the rest of the league's kind of going finesse and speed, right? So you zag when they're zigging. And I think it's going to be a really fun brand of football. I feel like them starting Phil Haynes out on the left side shows you a little bit about their confidence or lack thereof in Ayupati as the left guard.
Well, he hasn't been able to play a healthy season in a long time.
Right.
So they have reason to be distrustful at that spot.
Right. But it'll be interesting to see Phil Haynes here. And now this will be the highest pick they've made with Solari as their offensive line coach. And we saw it with Jamarcus Jones a little bit last year. He was picked like in the 6th round or something like that.
Jamarco Jones was a 5th rounder.
Yeah, that's why I said something like that. And he was pushing Ifedi by the time he had his knee issues. And he thought he might be able to play. He might even become the starting right tackle.
Jones is going to be the starting right tackle. I don't think it's going to be Fant. I don't think it's going to be Ifedi. I think Jamarco Jones is going to take over that spot.
I think there's a large possibility that happens. The best thing about Phil Haynes is he also used to play basketball just like George Fant.
Yes!
Maybe they can play some pickup after practice.
We need more basketball players on this team.
Right, because they're not playing football.
Did Ugo Amadi, the new corner or / safety,
right,
play basketball?
I don't know.
He played safety for Oregon.
He's 5'9" and he's relatively slow.
Slow by combine measurables, right?
I said relatively. Actually, that's one of the things. Like sometimes the numbers don't match up to what you see when they're out there playing, like actual football speed. Like, why don't they run the 40-yard dash in helmet and pads? Why don't they do that?
That would make more sense. Well, they haven't done it historically, so you want it something to match up to.
Well, just because it hasn't been done that way historically doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Why do you make an offensive lineman run a 40-yard dash?
Right.
When does a dude on the O-line or D-line ever run 40 yards?
Twice a year on a screen that went a little further than everybody anticipated.
Yeah. And even then, they're not running full speed. They're just kind of jogging, trying to keep up with the dude so it doesn't look like they're giving up on it.
No, but I feel like they should run in pads because you saw Amadi as a punt returner, and he looked way faster than 4.5, whatever he was.
It was interesting hearing that he had returned 2 of his 3 interceptions for, taking it to the house.
Mm-hmm.
This feels like the Justin Coleman replacement.
Oh, really? Okay. That's interesting. See, I kind of feel like Blair's more of that to me. I think he's going to end up playing in the slot.
They're going to find somebody to play in the slot. Maybe it's Blair. Maybe it's Amadi. The Seahawks say they're going to start out Amadi at safety, maybe at the free safety spot.
Well, the big reason they drafted this guy is clearly for special teams. I mean, that's really what you heard them talk about a lot with him.
Being a punt returner.
And on coverage, man.
Yeah, it's time to put Tyler Lockett away on special teams.
Right. This is like going back to when they were trying out Earl as a punt returner a little bit. And I was having a meltdown because I could just see his leg breaking in 15 ways like every other punt return.
Yeah.
Yeah. Similar.
You feel that way about Tyler now.
Yes.
Put Penny out there on kick returns, put Amadi out there on punt returns, and let Tyler, he has one job now.
Exactly. You have one job. Catch the sexy deep ball.
Well, that covers first through the fourth. We're just now getting through the fourth round. How did we end up with so many picks?
Yeah, because, like I said, John Schneider is a draft alchemist. But one thing after watching Amadi, man, Oregon does have cool unis, like in all different kinds of them. It's pretty neat.
They wear like a different uniform every other week.
That's a little much. But they're all pretty cool, so I can't even be mad.
Well, Oregon has something going for them.
Well, if Oregon can change their uniforms every single game, right? Because the Grizz do this too, the Montana Grizzlies.
Yeah,
they're basically the Oregon football of Division I AA.
Yeah, they have the gray, they have the maroon, they have white, they have black, they have the other shade of maroon.
They have the old school colors, the copper and yellow.
Yeah,
which they should just go back to that, by the way, because it was sweet. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. If all these teams can do that in college level, how is it that we can't have like legit Seahawks throwback jerseys in the silver helmet?
No, because you only get 3 uniforms a year.
But why?
I don't know. It makes no sense. It's like the helmet thing. You can't have 2 different color helmets.
Yeah. Can't make that happen, huh?
They can make other helmets in different colors.
You can't have a wrap that goes on the helmet like for a game?
Or just paint it a different color.
Right. Well, is it too much for the owners? Is it too much out of pocket? These cheap bastards.
Do they use the same helmet the whole year?
I don't know.
This brings up a lot of questions.
I know.
I feel like you could reuse pads, but maybe like helmets, after all those collisions, you should swap them out.
Depending on the position. Like
offensive and defensive linemen should maybe get a new helmet every game.
But what if part of having a good helmet is breaking in a helmet?
I don't know. I feel like once it's broken in, then it's kind of useless as far as its protection goes. I don't know.
I played center in the 7th grade. I used the same helmet all year. I was okay. Ish.
At what point in the season did you feel like your helmet was broken in to the point of comfortability?
Game 3, and that's when they put Lyle Buchholz in front of me, who was like this man beast in the 7th grade, who dump trucked me every single play. And I knew maybe I didn't have the skills for this.
Well, we talked about Amadi. We talked about Burke Irvin. Do you have anything else you want to say about Burke Irvin?
I don't know. He's a local kid, right? Like, that makes everybody happy.
I feel like you need one of those guys out of every draft.
Right.
You got Will Dissly a year ago.
I feel like this is what I will say about the BBK is that a couple years ago when Chris Carson got drafted in the 7th and we did our show after the draft, I was like, and then this running back from Oklahoma State, whatever. Yeah. And I didn't care at all because I was all in on Thomas Rawls. But I think that BBK is going to be that guy from this draft where I look back and be like, yeah, that's a guy I was totally dismissive of. And he turned out to be awesome.
Well, he was the nation's leading tackler, apparently.
See, it's funny you know that because apparently John Schneider didn't even know that when he went to campus to start watching stuff. He's like, man, this guy's really active. And like one of the film room guys was like, yeah, he's leading the nation in tackles. And he's like, yeah, I totally knew that.
And he's their 5th round guy.
Yeah.
Just like Trey Flowers, a 5th rounder. See, they didn't have a 5th rounder in 2017.
That was the problem with that draft.
That was the problem. Quentin Jefferson, a 5th rounder. You're starting to see him come around.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Staten, they whiffed on him, but he had like a heart condition. So
yeah, that was nobody's fault.
Luke Wilson, 5th rounder. Yeah. Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor.
Some success there in the 5th. Maybe that's where the Seahawks get their best value.
It's a sweet spot. Michael Dixon, 5th rounder.
All right. See that this is warming me up to BBK all the way around here. Does Burr Curvin fit on the back of a jersey with the hyphen?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's only.
Wait till we find out he's Ben Burr Curvin the third, and he's got to add the 3 to the end of it, like all the other guys do now.
He needs to have kids right away.
Right. No pressure on his girlfriend / wife.
So he can say, so he can be Burr Curvin Sr.
There it is. Yeah, that's the easiest way to add a surname to the back of it, right?
Yeah, have a kid. Travis Homer. Maybe my favorite name in the entire draft as they go running back in the 6th round, pick number 204 overall. Mm-hmm. A dude from the U.
Yes. Running back U, right?
It's all about the U.
Hey, I like this pick.
I do too.
I like the way this kid runs. He runs hard. Now, he's not super explosive. He's not going to be ripping off 50-yarders on the regular, but in a cluttered pile, he'll get you 3.5, 4 yards just on sheer effort alone. And that's exactly the type of runner that you need in this offense with the way that the Seahawks play. I think he's going to be a great Mike Davis replacement. I bet you he finishes the year with the 2nd most carries on the team.
Ooh, you think he's going to leapfrog Penny in year 1, huh?
I do.
Don't be so down on my dude, Rashad Penny.
I'm not down on him. He doesn't fit the style. He just doesn't.
Travis Homer fits the style.
He does. He runs hard. He runs like a thumper.
Yeah.
Penny runs like Sean Alexander.
That's fine.
Soft. But hey, if he can have that kind of production, then
That's
I'm fine.
It's a change of pace, and having change of pace guys is a force multiplier.
Sure. That's what JD McKissick is for. Because he's actually effective at doing the change of pace and being a force multiplier.
JD McKissick is still on the team.
I know.
So is our dude, CJ Procise.
Who?
I do like how the Seahawks added 2 more guys with abbreviated first name. LJ, DK. We got CJ.
Well, not for long. You don't have CJ.
Well, for now we have CJ.
CJ Porcelain will not be on the team by the end of the offseason here.
So you got DJ, DK, LJ, CJ.
This isn't going to be a problem at all.
And JD.
The all initials team.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wonder if you filled out an all initials team for the NFL, how good it would be.
Well, JJ would be in there, so that would help.
Yeah, he helps. Who's your quarterback of the abbreviations team?
I was trying to think of what quarterback went
Bethard?
with
CJ Bethard.
Ooh, yeah. Right now, that's your guy, probably, right?
I don't know. Can you count TB12?
No, you can't count a logo.
Honestly, I think CJ Bethard is probably because just looking down the list of starting quarterbacks,
right?
All full names.
All full names, yeah.
Yeah. So you got to go backups. Well, that's too bad.
It was a fun thought for a second.
DeMarcus Christmas.
Yep.
He's got a fun last name.
I hate this guy.
Do you?
Yeah. Just because I hate Christmas. It has nothing to do with him. It's not his fault at all.
Yeah.
But
it's just it brings back your memories of the holidays and having to work the Santa booth.
Shooting Santa photos in the mall and like making little kids scream on a stranger's lap in a fuzzy pimp suit. Yeah. Yeah. I hate Christmas.
Well, hopefully he gets cut.
Well, I mean, it's hard because I'm sure he's a fine fellow and I don't want his life to suck, but it's just change his name. That's what he just needs to do. Just change his name
to Xmas.
No, that's even worse. How about just change it to, DeMarcus July 12th
or his birthday? He could be DeMarcus Independence.
That's better.
And Independence would be a tough name to fit on the back of the jersey.
Yeah, but it's solid, right?
It would be pretty solid.
Yeah, really good insight into DeMarcus.
I feel like when you're getting down to the 6th and 7th rounders, this is what you get.
This is what you get. So the little bit that I did hear from people who watched college football is that he was supposed to be the next big deal on the defensive line at Florida State after some kind of studs had come through there and never really lived up to the hype.
But has that potential there?
Sure.
And if you go back to Jamarco Jones falling to the 5th round last year, it's kind of the similar type of deal. You're looking for guys that, oh, hey, if he would have come out earlier or, if he would have run a little bit better time and with his athletic drills, he would have been a 3rd rounder.
Right.
So good value pick.
Right. Yeah. Just bad name.
My favorite value pick of the entire draft, trading the 2020 6th round pick to move into the back half of the 7th round to take Hawaii receiver John Ursua.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of fun because whereas DK Metcalf and Gary Jennings, not good at the 3-cone drill at all, like 0 3-cone drill skills.
Right.
John Ursua has the 3-cone drills to make up for everything else.
He's got all the 3-cone drill skills.
Yeah. He's the best at it.
Yeah. No, I mean, you watch his stuff and it looks a little like the Edelman, Wes Welker, Baldwin kind of player. Like that's what he looks like. He's got good twitch.
He's the twitchiest. Which
should make you nervous in the locker room because you don't know what he's going to do. He's just twitchy.
My favorite thing was seeing on Reddit, a Cardinals fan with, and how Reddit is this username, Obama Llama 6969 on Reddit.
That's very Reddit-y?
It's a very Reddit-y username.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay.
Says, I'm a Cardinals fan and absolutely hate that you took my guy.
This is already a lie. I can tell this is already a lie. There aren't any Cardinals fans.
I'm a Cardinals fan?
Yeah. This is made up. That's why it's that crazy, wacky name is because it's not a real. This is a burner account.
Okay, well, this is the kind of, like I said, when you get to the 7th round pick, this is the analysis you get. A made up post on Reddit praising a 7th round pick. I'm a Cardinals fan and I absolutely hate that you took my guy Ursua. I've lived in Hawaii all my life, attend the University of Hawaii, and I've been a Warrior fan all of my life. I've seen every snap Ursua has taken since he first played, and I got to tell you guys, he's not a random 7th round draft pick. I knew from the first season that he would end up in the NFL. He's really quick, has good hands, can read defenses, and he's a great route runner. The only knocks on him were injuries, size, and inconsistent hands. The hands aren't as bad as people were saying, and he healed from his injuries. He's also a bit older than the other guys, but I don't think that will be a problem either. Also, when he was injured, at one point, I think our team yards per game went down by like 150 yards, which is crazy for a wide receiver, and why I'm scared for next year. I know people say that the system made him look better, but I have to disagree. He made the system look better. He missed the Hawaii Bowl, and our offense couldn't do shit. They were only productive when he played. Also, we only played that system last year, but he was still productive in his other 2 years here. The other 2 years, we weren't a run-first team. I think he'll be great in the NFL, and I hate you guys got him. He won't be just a camp body.
I kind of agree with Obama Llama 6969. Like I liked what I saw. Now, again, I've watched Hawaii game tape in the past and gotten sucked in by guys, because they were playing that run and shoot stuff under June Jones. Apparently they have a new dude now. Is that what's going on with the coach?
This last year, they switched it up.
I mean, I remember watching Devon Best play with Hawaii and being like, damn, that guy's good. And he was good for a few years.
Sure.
Like I kind of like this Ursua pick. He's very different than the rest of the receivers we have.
Sure. Yeah.
Short of Baldwin, but
one of the things that the Seahawks have done well is they've found guys, and usually they allow them to go undrafted and they pick them up like Baldwin, like Curse, Ricardo Lockett. They found these guys who came in and produced, and it just turned out that they thought that maybe Ursua was going to be pursued by too many other teams, and they figured they needed to draft him instead.
So, yeah, you lock it up, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that shows you a little bit about how the team feels about this guy. I think he's got a solid shot to make the roster.
He could also not do anything at all, like a lot of 7th rounders.
Funny you mentioned that, because it's true. Those are the options.
He'll either be good.
He could either make the team or he couldn't. That's what could happen.
Practice squad. Does that count as making the team?
Yes. Just so I don't sound like a moron.
Overall, I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah. So what's your draft grade, Brandon?
Oh.
Because we all know those are so important.
I do have. I'm going to get into draft grades in my do better section, but I'm going to give it an A+ because why not? If we're going to make things up, why not be positive about it?
Well, so I was struggling between giving this draft, if I were to grade it, either a watermelon or like back in the day, like when we got our report cards in grade school, I might give it an S+.
Satisfactory.
Satisfactory plus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think
like
I'm
I
gonna
just pick something random, like a watermelon, because it doesn't matter, like what you give it.
Watermelon is really good though.
Seedless or not seedless would be the question at that point, but I don't know.
I feel like if you go seedless, that's a good draft. If you go a seeded watermelon, that's kind of that it downgrades it a bit, because then you're taking you have to spit the seeds out, and some people might like that, but most people don't.
I either grade this draft as a seedless watermelon or as an S+. That's my draft grade.
I'm going to add 3 more pluses to my A+.
Oh, okay. So A quadruple plus.
A quadruple plus.
That's a good draft grade.
Just to make sure.
I like it. We need to publish that our draft grades. S+ or A quadruple plus.
Because I don't want anybody saying, why did you only give it 1+?
That means you don't believe in John Schneider if you only give it an A with 1+.
It's not enough pluses.
No.
Let's come back and let's give some of our listeners some pluses for helping to support the show.
Absolutely, man. Let's do it.
Getting into the second half of the show, and a couple news items we didn't cover leading up to this. It sounds like and I don't even know if this is news yet because they haven't cut Cam Chancellor, but if you look at when they cut Cliff Averill, there's that strong possibility that Cam could be cut this week.
Oh my God. So this is one of those headlines that I saw in my news feed. Could be a really significant or tough week for Seahawks fans. They should brace themselves. Like the idea that they're going to, cut Cam after keeping him on the payroll in a roster spot so that the medical stuff worked out and like all that stuff. Like he was done a year and a half ago. Like, why do I need to brace myself now?
We have all moved on from it, I think.
That one pissed me off.
Yeah.
So I clicked on the article. I was like, what the hell's happening? And I was like, oh, absolutely nothing.
Was that the field goals one?
No, I don't know. I can't tell you who it was. Let's see.
I was going to say, is that why we're not doing the field goal show anymore? Why we're back here?
There's some issues like that. Like I felt like I couldn't be as mean as I want to be on some occasions.
I think people.
It might have been a field goals post.
I don't remember that part of it jumping out at me that we needed to brace ourselves, but
no, that was the headline.
Oh,
it was like, yeah, it's gonna be a monumental week or a difficult week for Seahawks fans. Brace yourself or some stupid shit.
It's probably a 247 Sports headline that
snuck into my
linked to the
feed.
field goals article. Yeah.
Oh, here's a good headline from Field Goals right here. How the Seahawks won the 2015 draft without a top 60 pick. Nobody wins the draft. There's no score.
We won.
Do we want to talk about the quarterbacks from this draft?
I've been wanting to hear about this.
Okay. Well, I didn't put as much effort into it this year as I normally do, mainly because I wouldn't have spent a first round pick on any of these dudes. Not a one.
No, not even Murray?
No.
Well,
I'll get more to Kyler here in my Better at Life coming up.
Okay.
I'll leave a little of that
you'll save some.
Yeah, for later. Yeah. But no, I would have drafted one of these dudes in the first round.
Daniel Jones goes number 6 overall. Dwayne Haskins, 15 to the Skins.
Yeah. So when they drafted Daniel Jones, I got a text from our buddy Jared right after the pick. And all it said was, this is why the Giants will forever suck. And he's right. Because Daniel Jones is just a dude. I mean, if you watch the way that he played at Duke, he looked just like Peterman.
Oh, really?
On the Bills.
Wow.
Yeah. Smart enough, knows where to put the ball, does it just not plus anything. Like, good luck. Good luck with that.
See, everything I've heard about that Jones pick is that he would have been better at Duke, but he was always running for his life, and his receivers couldn't catch.
That might be fine. His stats might have looked better, but he has a very average arm.
Okay.
Very average. Like he is not a plus athlete in any way. The ball, he throws ducks half the time. Like this was basically, I saw a headline, something about the Giants drafting this guy was a solid to the Mannings. And not just to keep Eli playing for a while, but because the quarterback or the head coach, Cutcliffe, is like the Manning quarterback guru.
So they're going to be able to point to this and say, well, hey, we addressed the quarterback position, but clearly Eli is so much better, and everybody's going to see that in preseason, that this is more of a multi-year project to replace Manning than an immediate project.
Yeah, and by a multi-year project, it means that by year 3, they'll realize that this guy totally isn't the dude unless they just keep him as the backup and draft somebody else.
3 years down the road, they're going to be trading for Russell Wilson.
Right, exactly.
So you gotta plan for that.
So yeah, no, the Daniel Jones pick was stupid. Like I said earlier, his ceiling is like Frank Reich.
Yeah.
Like a good backup.
So
that's his ceiling.
Did they at least get the order right?
As far as the QBs go?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay.
Because if I was picking these guys, this would have been the order in which I picked them in, but not in the first round.
Okay.
I would have picked Haskins, Locke, Murray, and then that would be the only people I'd pick
out of the whole draft.
I'm telling you, man, this was a terrible draft for quarterbacks. Terrible.
Yeah.
Like everybody pretended like it was last year's draft, and it was not. So like with the Haskins thing, like I watched his stuff, makes pretty good decisions, throws a nice ball, but he's got lead feet. And I just worry that in 3 to 5 years, we're looking at the way the game has changed and go, that guy can't play in the league anymore. The Joe Flacco's of the world. Like, that's my comp to him. I think his ceiling is Joe Flacco.
So maybe even like more of a Teddy Bridgewater type guy.
Teddy moves better than Haskins by like a significant amount.
Well, maybe like Teddy Bridgewater now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, probably more like he's got a better arm than Teddy.
Oh, he does. Okay.
Yeah. But did the Redskins do okay with that pick? Yeah, they did okay with that pick. I mean, if you have to pick a quarterback in this draft, I get it. Drew Lock, he's definitely got the most arm talent, is the best athlete, like for sure. Like he spins it better than anybody in this draft.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. I do not understand his decision-making process half the time. And some say it's because they changed offenses this last year and the new coach sucks and blah, 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 blah. It's a risk. Like, I mean, picking him about where the Broncos picked him, I'm fine with that. Like, if I'm a Broncos fan, I'm happy. Like, he could be good. Like, he has way more upside than, say, like Paxton Lynch did when he came out and the Broncos drafted him.
I wonder where that guy is now.
Paxton Lynch?
Yeah. I wonder what he's up to.
He's on our team.
I know.
All right. I didn't want to think about that.
Just try not to think about it.
Yeah, thanks.
Because the Seahawks didn't draft a quarterback.
Yeah, I know. Because they didn't need to.
We got that. Oh, we did get a quarterback, though, from the Jackrabbits.
Oh. Well, lucky us.
So you didn't scout him at all, I'm guessing? You're not up on the Jackrabbits quarterback?
No, I'm not.
South Dakota State, Taryn Christian.
Cool.
It's Christian is spelled weird, though. It's spelled Christian with the TI, like question.
Yeah, why not?
I don't think I've seen that. That's not very common.
So let's see. What are the other quarterbacks here? So like Drew Lock, he's okay. Maybe. He might be able to put it together, but it's a major project. Like I'm not into that. Look, well, I guess I'll just talk about Kyler real quick. I can't shake that Alabama game. I can't do it. Like watching him against lesser opponents, like, yes, played well in a system that puts up big numbers for all the quarterbacks that play there. Am I worried about his height? No. I'm just worried about the way that he plays against high-level competition. That Alabama game was a stinker, man.
He came back.
He looks like a college quarterback. Like, that's the only way I can put it. The way that he throws the ball. And I could be dead-ass wrong about the guy, but I don't know. He doesn't tilt the field in big moments the way that Russell Wilson did in college. Like, you heard John Schneider talk about that.
Yeah.
And that's not him. I love his speed. I think his running ability will keep him out of trouble and be a guy that can play for a couple years just based on his legs. Because he does have elite speed. He's faster than Russ, even coming out of college.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's impressive stuff. But his personality is catfish and weird.
You know me. I was on the Baker Mayfield train. And I know you don't like Baker Mayfield's personality either, but at least...
But it works in a locker room. That was the thing. Like, I don't like it personally. He pisses me off.
Yeah.
But it works in a locker room. The cult of Baker is a real thing. Like, his cult of personality is a real thing. And he is a leader that way.
Yeah. Whereas Kyler, He just is a bit of an odd dude.
Yeah. I mean, that whole nonverbal weirdo thing, like, I was all in on Mariota just with his skill set and everything. Like, and he's still better than Jameis, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I won that argument. But the nonverbal thing is a real problem. Kingsbury is the best possible place for him to land because he believes in him so much. But I don't know, man. And to get rid of Rosen, we'll get back to that.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm not in on Kyler. He's a college quarterback. We talked about Daniel Jones. He sucks. What, Stidham, the kid that the Patriots took, he can't throw it in the ocean from 5 feet away. So good luck with that guy. He's basically Paxton Lynch, who plays for Auburn.
There's Greer.
He fucking sucks. Dude, that guy's decision-making is awful. It's so bad. Well, after watching a bunch of Gary Jennings stuff, having to watch Will Greer run around and take stupid-ass sacks, like he doesn't throw the ball away, ever. He takes the dumbest sacks. And he's not even a good athlete. And he's like running around like he thinks he's Russell Wilson.
Huh.
And the ball comes out of his hand freaking weird, man. Like it does. Like he throws it almost kind of like a javelin. It's odd. He's not that accurate. His arm strength isn't that good, and he's a crappy decision maker.
All right then.
That was it. Thank you. I'm so glad the Panthers wasted a third rounder on that. That's good. Thanks, Carolina.
If you're going to take a backup quarterback, that's not a bad round to take him in.
That's fine. He could be a backup.
It really, if you're picking outside of the top 10, you're usually getting a backup quarterback.
I don't know. I mean, the kid that the Easton Stick kid from North Dakota State.
I like him.
He just doesn't have he's Carson Wentz without the physical tools.
Yeah.
Like he's smart. He's good. Like, I mean, he's going to make a great coach.
When the Seahawks had all of those fourth rounders, I thought he would have been a guy to take in that fourth round as a potential backup.
Yeah, I don't know.
If
Jake Browning really in this draft from Washington?
He was in the draft, yeah.
Where'd he go?
Did he go to Florida, one of the Florida teams?
Wow. I remember like 2 years ago, people were talking about him like he could be the number one pick.
Really?
Or, potentially. If he played well that year and all that. Like, there was a lot of hype.
Or did he go to the Vikings?
Vikings add undrafted QB Jake Browning.
There you go.
Well, that's going to be great for him. He can learn from Kirk Cousins on how to be mediocre in the NFL.
Yeah, with the time that the Seahawks put in with him, I thought that maybe they were lobbying to try and keep him as a UDFA invite.
Nah, we're good. We're good with the Jackrabbit kid and Paxton Lynch. It'll be great.
And some Canadian, too. Michael O'Connor.
What?
Well, they gave him a mini camp invite.
Oh, okay. I don't trust any QBs with an apostrophe in their last name.
Dude, you should see this picture of O'Connor. He looks like he couldn't throw the football like 10 yards with this windup, his arm windup.
What's his first name?
Michael.
I'm getting like CEOs and stuff when I Google search it.
This picture, he has like his tongue sticking out, like he's licking his upper lip, and he looks like he can get absolutely no velocity on the football holding it the way he is. Do you see it?
He does look like he's a 7th grader, like playing quarterback for the first time, right? And he might make a tennis player noise when he throws it, like.
Yes.
It sounds like Steffi Graf out there every time he throws the ball.
That's exactly what it looks like. Do Canadians throw the football differently than Americans?
Well, they obviously taste the air with their tongue like a snake before they throw it. What's this guy think he's like the Michael Jordan of Canadian high school football?
Apparently. Yeah.
Sticking his tongue out.
Oh, good for him. I'm sure he'll be great.
That's a good thing that our backup is injured Russell Wilson.
He's going to have to play third string, too.
Like, is that wheelchair Russell Wilson at that point? Is that our third stringer?
I don't know.
Wow, he's special.
Well,
okay.
Keenan Reynolds is still on the team. He might be the better backup. He might be the best backup quarterback we have.
How is he not listed on the depth chart as QB2?
They have enough receivers now. Keenan Reynolds should switch over to quarterback.
Yes, please. He would instantly be the number 2 guy on the team. Yeah, now that Cam's gone.
How have the Seahawks not thought of this?
I don't know.
Didn't they move J.D. McKissick into the wide receiver spot too?
Sometimes.
No, but somebody was pointing out that on the Seahawks roster, they had McKissick listed as wide receiver.
They should come up with a new position like DA, like do-all. It just does it all.
We should welcome some new members of the flock.
Yes.
Or
they are the true MVPs of the show, for sure.
Not new members, but at least we got some raises.
Oh, sweet.
And one of them coming in from Lisa Carlson. Lisa in Seattle.
See, she just wanted to hear you sing again, bro.
Probably. She keeps giving me raises.
Cool. You'll put together a musical for her?
Yeah, I can do remixes.
I didn't realize you were this versatile.
Yeah, sure. I'll do the R&B mix. I'll do the death metal mix.
This is exciting. Well, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. And thanks to Oliver Fleck, also gave us a raise.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
That makes me feel better. After being gone from this show for a while, this just feels right.
We've mostly been losing people. I can't guilt trip people.
No?
No.
Well, I can. Why the hell did you people leave? Brandon's entertaining. Like, come on. Wow, what kind of fickle fair weather fans is that? You're not even a little flocker at that point. You want to be an ex-flocker? Nobody wants to be an ex-flocker.
We went from being over 300 at the end of the season.
Right.
Now we're under 300. And you can tell my voice is even cracking a little bit talking about it.
Right. You're basically DK Metcalf on a draft phone call. You're so chucked up about it.
Why are y'all leaving?
Come back. That's fine. We're going to build the little flockers back up here.
This show is about community, though. And it's definitely not about advertising. I'm not about that, the advertising life.
Okay, so yeah, the biggest reason I don't want to do the field goals thing anymore is just I hate the ads. I hate them. I hate them so much.
I don't like taking breaks. Like recording with Rob the last couple shows, I just recorded it straight through.
Right.
And then went back and tried to edit in like some transitions to make breaks.
Right.
Because I hate stopping the conversation to go. And even if we're just picking it right back up.
Yeah.
I'm watching the clock the whole time, figuring, okay, has it been 25 minutes?
Right.
Yeah. I'm done with
this is better for our deal.
It's better for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's more fun. This is supposed to be fun.
Yeah. I feel less pressure doing this too for some reason. Even though there's probably less people listening when we do field goals.
Yeah.
Just because I know these are my people.
Right.
The little flockers are my people. I know that they know where I'm coming from.
So get in the flock. Getintheflock.com. Adam's back.
Do better.
I am going to keep doing things over at Field Goals for a little while, though.
Yeah. Yeah, that can be... I know you like doing like little side things now and then, and that's a great place for it.
You know what I'm thinking about doing? I wonder if people would listen to this. I think that one of the things that's hard to find is the press conferences through the RSS feed. Because the Seahawks just put those out through YouTube now. But I was thinking if we...
The press conferences?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And watching them on YouTube's fine, but I was thinking that if I actually made the audio listenable, because sometimes it's kind of tough when the questions, just inject things here and there ahead of some of the questions, and so that way people can hear some of the answers from the press conferences. That would be a good Field Goals project, I think.
There you go. That's perfect.
I don't know. I got a lot.
Good, because I'm not going to be involved in that.
Yeah, I knew you wouldn't like that. What do you say we get into some do better and better at life?
Yeah, that sounds about right. We've drugged this out long enough because it felt like we actually had something to talk about for a change.
Yeah,
nice.
I don't know what we're gonna do over the next few months.
Oh, we'll figure it out.
We always do.
I feel like we can talk about things over the next couple months because training camp's going to start up, rookie mini camp's going to start up. You have guys that are going to be on the team, or at least through the preseason, right? With all these draftees, that's stuff to talk about. Like now is the time where there's actual things to talk about rather than the last couple months where we're talking about whether or not Ciara wants to live in New York.
I want to go and look at why all the Seahawks picks are going to be terrible.
Yes.
Because there's enough info out there telling us just how bad each one of these players is going to be.
Right.
I feel like the next show should maybe focus on that because I gave them the A quadruple plus.
Right.
And I think next week we need to go F octuple minus.
Right, and see how everybody has graded this poorly. I saw a little video on YouTube, and it was just a compilation of draft takes over the last few years since John Schneider and Pete Carroll have become the heads of the organization, and all the stupid takes. You know, like one of them was talking about how Bobby Wagner was a 6th round pick that, you know, needs a lot of time to develop and he might be a borderline starter someday. Peter Schrager from Good Morning Football being like, you draft Russell Wilson, you put him on the bench, he'll be a backup quarterback, whatever. Like everybody remembers that soundbite.
He'll be a fine backup to Matt Flynn. And
there was a lot of them, man. A lot of them. And it's stupid. They need to find better ways to grade the draft, like S+.
Well, according to Greg Rosenthal and John, a.k.a. Master Guns, sent this in, he made sure to point out that Greg Rosenthal listed the Seahawks as one of the losers from the draft, saying the Seahawks value pickup of wide receiver DK Metcalf at the end of the 2nd round, number 64 overall, after a dizzying amount of trades, came with a caveat. ESPN's Adam Schefter first reported that Metcalf could be joining a wide receiver crew that doesn't include Doug Baldwin in 2019. The combination of multiple surgeries could prevent Baldwin from playing again. GM John Schneider later confirmed retirement is a possibility being considered by Baldwin. The Seahawks needed receiving help on the outside, and Metcalf is a far different style of receiver than Baldwin, who will be incredibly hard to replace. After using 3 of their first pick on defense, there won't be any easy answers regarding how to add juice to Russell Wilson's supporting cast.
They need juice?
So the Seahawks are losers because they did not draft a replacement for Doug Baldwin.
Right. I saw some other negative things from Rosenthal over the last couple days. Like, when did he become the new resident Seahawks hater? Did, like, that spirit, like, transfer to him? Did, like, Pete Prisco touch him? Like that one movie where the evil spirit, like, just jumps from person to person when you touch him?
That was a great movie with John Goodman,
yeah. Wasn't Denzel in that?
Denzel was in it, yeah.
Yeah, whatever that movie is. Like, I think that's what happened to Greg Rosenthal. I think Prisco touched him, and the evil Seahawks hater spirit, like, moved from Prisco to Rosenthal.
Fallen.
That's it.
That was a good movie.
Good job by you.
Yeah. I just was quick at the Googles.
When did Fallen come out? That feels like an old movie.
1998.
Oh, man.
Go watch it, kids.
Yeah. 1 year removed from high school is when that came out.
Oh.
I just saw another picture of Michael O'Connor, and I'm laughing.
Michael O'Connor?
The third.
I already forgot about who we were talking about. the Canadian grunter.
Yeah. I just changed like back and forth between the web browser and the news app, and there's Michael again, and it just made me laugh.
I kind of hope he makes the team now.
I know.
I hope nobody knows Michael O'Connor and it gets back to him.
Well, I mean,
I kind of do.
If he does, he's got to understand, like, you know, where it comes from. Number one, like, nobody knows who Michael O'Connor is.
Yeah.
And you just said you hope he makes the team. So how mean is that?
As part of an A+++ draft graded team.
Right. Is bringing in undrafted free agent quarterbacks that make female tennis player noises when they throw the football.
Would have gone first overall if that was the qualifier.
Right.
All right. Well, let's get into Do Better and Better at Life. Thanks to John for pointing that out.
Yeah. No, that's good stuff. My Do Better this week is for Putin. And I'm a little afraid to say this because I feel like I could come down with radiation poisoning at like any given moment, being critical of the Vlad. You never know. He's scary. He doesn't like his opponents, his political opponents. But the reason why Putin is my Do Better this week is that Russia has been now going on for a while now, at least 10 months. They're having this trial where they made a floating nuclear reactor power plant.
What?
Yeah. And they're like, yeah, we'll float it around to like some of our coastal cities that need more power and plug it in. Like, you know, just to give them a boost.
Well, isn't that what an aircraft carrier is?
Yes, but it's much smaller. Like, you know, a floating Fukushima is a bad freaking idea. Like, every part of that's freaking stupid.
You know, the thing is that instead of a submarine or a aircraft carrier, I'm picturing like the Unabomber shack just floating around on like the raft that Tom Hanks used in Castaway. Yeah. Well, it's not a far cry from that, to be honest. Like, you know, the floating nuclear reactor. I mean, look, there's no worse idea than to put something that's going to melt down. And by the way, like, Russia doesn't have the greatest track record with nuclear reactors, right? I mean, Chernobyl, anyone? Like, it's not a great idea.
put that floating around in the ocean so when it does melt down, all that catfish can float around the ocean and contaminate the world. It'll be fine. This is a great idea. Hey, Vlad, do better.
We have nuclear reactors floating around underneath the water with our submarines.
Yeah, I know they're much smaller. Like the amount of fallout is like way lesser.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why don't they just hook their submarine up to power these towns?
Apparently the concept of it being small has really been tough for you here because it's too small to power a city.
Okay, I'm just struggling with the size. How big is this
in terms of megawatts?
No, in terms of the actual structure. Well,
it's not the size of the structure; it's the amount of output.
Okay.
Right. And the size of the structure plays a part in that. But like you can't take 3 Mile Island's nuclear reactor and shove it in a submarine. So it's a much lesser output. It's like having a smaller wood stove or a big wood stove. Like one's portable, one's not. Like one, camp wood stove that you put in your wall tent. It's very different than like a big like cooking stove you put in your house. They're different things. And they're putting a cooking stove on a boat full of uranium and high pressure water. They're not even using a thorium reactor. Like, so it's at least at 1 atmospheric pressure, like when they're making the fission. No, they're doing it with high pressure steam. It's great. And Russian boats are so notoriously good at floating.
You're worried about this on a whole different level than me.
Yeah, I don't like floating radiation on the ocean. That's a bad idea.
I'm just coming from it from the perspective that I've been on many things that float with radiation.
It's just a lot less.
Those are less?
Than a floating power plant? Yes. I mean, I understand an aircraft carrier is technically a floating power plant to a degree, right? Especially these new 4-class carriers, but...
I feel like the output could be pretty strong.
It is. I mean, because they got to do those electromagnetic rail plane launchy thingies now, because that's the term.
Yeah.
It's still just... It's a bad idea, man.
My do better this week is for Pro Football Focus and how they graded down the Seahawks pick of LJ Collier in the first round. We got into this a little bit, Adam, about the idea of value picks. And they did not like the value of LJ Collier at number 29 because he was a reach considering that he finished as PFF's number 54 overall player. So see, that's like 25 value spots different from where they thought. I'm trying to figure out what's the issue with these 25 spots, because
the mythical 25 spots, right?
The mythical 25 spots. It's just the way
that they put it in there on their amazing mock draft. Yeah.
And this is ranking all of the players. What did the Seahawks need the most after trading Frank Clark?
Punter.
A replacement for Frank Clark.
I didn't know.
Like they needed more defensive linemen. It was a need for defensive linemen going into this draft. And I looked at PFF's player ranking scale. There were a lot of guys who weren't pass rushers in between number 29 and number 54. So just because we didn't take Thick Nick Jesus, a.k.a. Chase Winovich, at the end of the first round.
Is that what that is? I kept seeing the nickname floater around the Ring of Honor.
Jesus is okay. Chase Winovich, the new Patriots defensive lineman that went all the way to number 77. So they got all kinds of value because he was PFF's 29 overall pick.
And plus, whenever the Patriots choose a linebacker with the last name Itch at the end of it, it always works out.
Always works out. There's never a downside for the Patriots choosing an Itch.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what we need to do. We need to get away from ranking every single player 1 to 250. Like we don't need a top 250 big board. We need to know which players fit in the really, really good category, the really good category, the good category. And then that way you can go, oh, here they're picking somebody that people generally think is good in the range of all the good players. Because ranking a receiver at number 40 and then having another guy that's the next offensive lineman at 62. If I need an offensive lineman, I'm taking the guy at 62 ranked ahead of the guy at 40.
See, this is why our general manager thinks of the draft in tiers of talent, right? Like out of this pool of guys, like these are all the best of the players and they all play different positions. And right now I need a lineman. I'll get the best lineman or the lineman I like the best out of that tier.
The Seahawks don't go and just do a number ranking chart of, okay, this guy's the number 1 player. This guy's the number 2 player. And then just start crossing them off down the list. That's not how it works. Although we're come to believe that it works that way because that's how every single mock draft operates.
Yeah, completely. Totally. You're 1,000,000% right on this.
So thank goodness we have a team that doesn't pick players based on a scale of numbers. And for PFF, do better.
Yeah, man.
Although they did say that we actually had an above average draft.
Yeah, S+. Glad they know.
I don't even think in grade school now they do A's and B's.
They didn't when we were kids. It was plus, S+, S minus, minus.
No, I remember in second grade getting A's and B's.
Nope.
No?
Not Montana, you didn't. That might have been during your Washington days.
No.
Don't you remember the report card being like a long, skinny, like it looked like an old time card?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. S's, pluses, S minus.
Maybe I was just so good they actually gave letter grades too, and you were in the S grades.
your teacher just gave
We
teachers just gave you like
dude.
A quadruple pluses. Brandon's amazing.
I remember getting A's.
I wish we would have gotten stars. That's what I should have gave the Seahawks a draft grade in was stars.
A star.
Yeah, I give them 4 stars.
Out of
you pick.
On to Better Life.
All right. I'm going to move on to my Better at Life. Speaking of other picks and draft grades and all that good stuff. My Better at Life than Skip Bayless this week is the entire Arizona Cardinals organization. You guys are amazing. And I love that you're in my life and my division. This is great. I love the fact that they drafted Kyler Murray first overall and then continually botched it like for months. For months, they screwed this up. Basically, they screwed themselves out of any trade value with Rosen because they wanted to keep everything hush-hush a secret, even though it wasn't a secret. And then they tried floating out headlines like a month ahead of the draft that, well, nope, it's actually, we're not picking Kyler Murray. We're going to go with someone else. And you got guys like freaking, it wasn't McShay, Daniel Jeremiah coming out and be like, well, it was 90% that I thought they were going to take Kyler Murray. Now it's down to 60, because he bought into this garbage that Steve Geim tried to put out there. And all the other teams in the league didn't buy this catfish for a second, not 1 second. So when he calls up the Washington Redskins, it's like, hey, I'd like a first for Rosen. They're like, that's cute.
Not going to happen.
They weren't doing that. So the best they got for the better quarterback that they would have had on their team was a low second-round draft pick. Good work by you guys after trading up the year earlier up to 10 to choose this guy. And then you draft Kyler Murray, who's a college quarterback who's going to try to cut his teeth in the NFL with a coach who can't have a winning record. This is awesome. I love that you're in my division. And for all of your dumbassery, you guys are better at life than Skip Bayless. I love it.
Well, Mike Florio had the theory that the NFL does not want the team with the first overall pick allowing that to get out. And so the idea that all of this was, that all of the talk surrounding it was just to confuse people going into the draft. So we would tune in to find out who ultimately would be the first pick overall.
Yeah, I tuned in anyways.
I don't get it either. And even if you know who the first pick is going to be, I feel like you're tuning in to see who the second pick might be.
And shoot, even if you know who the first pick is going to be, like you tune in because, there's a possibility it wouldn't be that. But, like 99% not.
Well, there were times, remember back not too long ago, where guys would have their contract already hammered out before the draft.
Yeah, before the last CBA and they changed the rookie wage scale. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you knew that stuff. And even now you kind of know with draft visits and in all that stuff.
You get an idea.
Yeah. And I don't know. I had an inkling after Cliff Kingsbury, over the years has tried to recruit Kyler Murray everywhere he's gone. And then the year before when he was a failed college football coach said that he would take Kyler Murray number 1 if he ever had the chance. And there it is. It happened.
It did happen.
Yeah. This is great. This is great. And it makes me feel better to know that the Cardinals are going to suck for a number of years because I do feel like the Niners got better this offseason.
Yeah, they took my receiver that I wanted.
You like the guy named after a movie character?
Debo Samuel?
Yeah, Debo.
See,
what movie is that from? Friday?
Is that from Friday?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I don't know if Debo is Smokey was the Chris Tucker character.
Right.
I don't know who was Debo.
He was like the thug, like big thick neck dude.
Oh yeah. Tiny Zeus.
Yeah, it was from Friday. Okay. So they took your receiver.
Took my receiver
Friday.
Debo.
And you got they got the backpedaling Bosa because he just takes all his Twitter stuff down and pretends like it never happened.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
What if he listens to different music though than some of the other players in the locker room?
I don't know, man. I mean, I know the players in the Seahawks locker room hate all the Christian rock that Russell Wilson plays.
Russell, we're tired of hearing you play your wife's one CD on repeat over and over and over.
I think she's got more than one.
Does she? I don't know. I thought she only had one.
Oh, really?
Well, maybe she has like an EP or something, but I think she only has one full-length album. That can't
be true. She's got to have a couple albums.
Are you actually looking at it?
This is what tears a locker room apart. But I do think the Niners got better. I do.
They haven't had a whole lot of luck, though, with their taking defensive linemen early.
They haven't not had luck. Like, they've all been okay.
Yeah, but not game wrecker type dudes who should probably be game wreckers if you take them in the top 4.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. The biggest thing that I look at with that team is good luck keeping Garoppolo healthy. Just good luck with that. Hasn't been able to do it his entire life.
Yeah.
How many healthy seasons do you think you get out of Jimmy G over the course of his career? The over-under for me is 2.5.
He's Sam Bradford.
Yes, he's absolutely Sam Bradford. And so that's one of the things where I see in all these power rankings and everybody's got San Francisco like way higher than the Seahawks. Like, you realize they won 4 games last year, right? And like, you realize that their quarterback's made of glass, right? Cool. They've traded for D Ford and they got a linebacker that is super hit or miss coming off a catastrophic knee injury. Neat. They're way better than the Seahawks now.
Way better.
Same thing with the Packers after this draft. Everybody, the Packers are so much better now. Are they? Like, have we all seen Matt LaFleur as a head coach? Have we?
They did get some pretty good defensive lineman dudes in free agency.
Yeah, okay, guys, right? Yeah. Guys that can play.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they're a massive upgrade for them.
Their defense stuff.
Did they also like invest in extra bubble wrap for Aaron Rodgers?
If they did, that went under the radar.
Because that's the other thing. Everybody's like, well, I mean, Aaron Rodgers has no excuses this year. It's going to be great. Got all these weapons now. You know, I mean, Jimmy Graham. Yeah, Jimmy Graham retired a year ago. Didn't tell anybody. He's not a game changer anymore.
And it depends whether or not you're talking about actual bubble wrap or like offensive linemen, because they probably only got one of the two. And I didn't hear about them getting offensive linemen. Right.
No, I'm talking like actual bubble wrap, because he'll be hurt by week 10. Like, they're like, oh, the Packers are going to be great again. I don't know. They'll be as great as Aaron Rodgers' collarbone is. Remember when Tony Romo just started breaking his collarbone when he sneezed?
Every single year. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we are with Aaron Rodgers now, which is sad. I don't want that on him. It's just how it is.
Yeah, and you have to be realistic when you make your projections.
Right. And realistically, he's held together by duct tape now.
My better at life, our general manager, John Schneider, who went into the draft with only, a week ago, he only had 4 picks. Goes into the draft with 5 picks, tied for the lowest number of picks back to 1994 and 1997. He does his general manager, John Schneider, wizarding things, turning 5 picks into 11. And maybe that means that he'll never win GM of the year, but at least he can look back and remember the time when he earned his post-draft award at being better at life than Skip Bayless. So for John Schneider, better at life than Skip Bayless.
He nailed it again.
Boom.
Boom.
Just like our 6th round pick, Homer.
Yeah.
All right, Adam. Well, it is the first show of the month, so let's close this thing out by running down our $12 supporters and above. And I even got some new submissions, including a new one from Hong Kong Hawk to throw in there. Yeah.
The production value is always super high, so I'm very excited.
Get ready for showtime.
Keith Ketover, a.k.a. Flocktimus Prime, University of Cybertron, Little Flockers, roll out.
DCH from Sparks, Nevada, the University of Montana Grizzlies.
Annalisa Mickelson, a.k.a. Mrs. Doug Baldwin, New York, New York, undergrad, University of North Carolina, Greensboro, graduate school, Brooklyn College.
Eric Trench, rooting for the Seahawks out of Renton, Washington, graduated from Eastern Washington University.
Gary Blum from Chappaqua, New York, and the University of Pennsylvania, your 2016 Pick'em League champion.
Ron Pepper, UNLV Runnin' Rebels, San Francisco, California.
Tickety-boo! This here is Hong Kong Hawk, it is. From Hertfordshire Meadows, just north of Chelsea, yeah?
Kevin Stengen, Keene, Texas.
Ella Esparza, Woodway, Texas. Yale University and Sam Houston State, Eat 'em Up Cats.
Lisa in Seattle.
Sam Sullivan from the wonderful land of Oz, the Fort Hays State University.
Paul from San Diego.
Vincent Parker, Emily Carr, University of Art Design, RN Collective.
Hector Delgadillo from Los Angeles, California.
Samuel Gelber, No Hoke.
David Van Cleve, Camas, Washington, home of the Papermakers.
Garrett Strong-Banks, Northern Ontario, Georgian College.
Jameson Holman from Murray, Utah, representing Mississippi State University. Hail State and go Hawks.
And continuing the list of supporters at 12 and above, got associate producer Dustin Mock, Ross in Eureka, California, Christina in Manassas, Virginia, Sven in Berlin, Deutschland, James in Linwood, Summer in Vancouver, Ro in Federal Way, Hector in Issaquah, Kevin in Snohomish, Becca in Manhattan Beach, California, Tim in Austin, Kathy in Eureka, California, Joshua in London, Brandon in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Christian in Bergen, Norway, John in New York, Pepper in Greenville, South Carolina, Jonathan in Ridgefield, Craig in Pasco, Jared in Missoula, Thomas in the Bronx, Glenn in Sanford, Florida, Keegan in Colorado Springs, John in Pierce, Nebraska, Owen in Ashburn, Ireland, Jeffrey in Kansas City, Kari in Rochester, Jeff in Waddell, Arizona, Brian in Berlin, Connecticut, Gary in Kaneohe, Hawaii, Eric in Seattle, Tracy in Kaneohe, Hawaii, Connie in Gothenburg, Sweden, Taylor in South Cle Elum, Brian in Sugar Land, Texas, Dean in the Greater Hawkdom, JC in Billericay, England, Lisa in Kelowna, BC, Scott in Fresno, California, Brian in the Greater Hawkdom, Marvin in Riverdale, Utah, Mitchell in Roseville, California, Paul in Minneapolis, Seth in Tacoma, Don in the Pacific Northwest, Eric in Clovis, California, Bryson in Eltopia, Shannon in Florida, John in the Greater Hawkdom, Andrew in Marysville, Shoko in New York, Greg in Seattle, and Ben in Wrexham, Wales. A huge thanks to our supporters at 12 and above for the month of May. You are better at life. Well, thanks to everyone who is supporting the show at 12 and above. You're helping to keep this going. And as Adam and I pointed out earlier, we really hate doing the ads. So this is one way that you help make this show happen. And Adam, I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.